Good evening. In recent days, the small Himalayan nation of Nepal has been rocked by the largest wave of protests it has seen in decades. Thousands of young people, led by what many are calling the country's Gen Z uprising, have taken to the streets in defiance. The pressure has already brought down the sitting government, and for the very first time in Nepal's history, a woman has been appointed as interim prime minister. So the question tonight: what exactly is happening in Nepal and why does it matter on the world stage? It all began in August 2025. Nepal's government shocked the nation when it banned more than 24 social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and X. For young Nepalis, these platforms were not just entertainment. They were their only tools for connection, self-expression, and political dissent. Outrage spread quickly, and protests erupted across the capital, Kathmandu. By early September, those protests had escalated into violent clashes. Demonstrators stormed parliament, set fire to luxury hotels, and attacked government buildings. The toll was devastating. Dozens killed, hundreds injured, and the army deployed to restore order. But instead of calming the situation, the crackdown only fueled further anger. On September 11th, under enormous pressure from both the streets and the political establishment, Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli announced his resignation, a stunning collapse for one of the country's most powerful leaders. And just one day later, in a move that took the world by surprise, Nepal appointed Sushila Karki, a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, as interim Prime Minister. Her appointment marked a historic first. She is now the first woman ever to lead the Himalayan nation. For many, her rise symbolized a glimmer of hope in a time of turmoil. So why did Nepal's young generation rise up in the first place? At the core of their anger is a political system many believe has failed them. Corruption is widespread, opportunities and state resources are concentrated in the hands of a few, and political elites have long favored their own families, creating what many describe as a dynastic system that shuts ordinary young people out. Add to that a rising tide of unemployment, the lack of stable career paths for graduates, and most recently, the silencing of free speech through sweeping social media bans. And the frustration finally boiled over into the streets. Economically, Nepal was already walking on thin ice. More than a quarter of its GDP comes from remittances, wages earned by Nepali workers abroad. That makes the country heavily dependent on external labor markets and leaves its economy vulnerable to global shocks. Tourism, once the nation's pride and a key source of foreign currency, has been crippled by political unrest. And now, as the government faces shrinking tax revenues and mounting public debt, financial risks are piling up with no easy solutions in sight. Audience interaction. Do you believe Nepal's new interim government can truly win back the trust of its young people? If you were in charge, what would you fix first? Corruption, unemployment, or free speech? So what comes next for Nepal? In the short term, the interim government must focus on restoring order, reopening social media, and regaining public trust. In the medium term, many expect calls for early elections and bold reforms to root out corruption. And in the long term, the stakes are clear. If Nepal's leaders fail to deliver change, instability will continue, and its young people may seek futures abroad. But if reforms succeed, this crisis could mark a turning point, a chance to build a more transparent, modern, and globally respected Nepal. Tonight, Nepal stands at a crossroads. Will the voices of its young generation be powerful enough to reshape the nation's destiny? The world is watching closely, because what happens in the mountains of the Himalayas may well echo far beyond its borders. If you found this report insightful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned with us at ShockWave News for more breaking stories from around the world.